press conference, a press conference we're excited to have here this morning with Birmingham City Schools. In terms of run of show, you all have an agenda. We'd like to welcome our board members, Vice President Dr. Douglas Ragland, as well as Ms. Patricia McAdory, as well as our superintendent, Dr. Lisa Herring. And we will begin this morning with a word from our board members, Board Vice President Dr. Douglas Ragland. Dr. Ragland.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a blessing to be here for this occasion, and I certainly want to first and foremost give God the glory for this occasion and for the celebration of achievements that we are going to discuss today with you. I'm Dr. Doug Ragland, Vice President of the Birmingham School Board, and it's an honor, a tremendous honor to serve our children first and foremost in our community. On behalf of our board, I can honestly say we are committed to educational excellence. We're committed to our children first and foremost. We believe in approving policies, priorities, and procedures with our children first and foremost in mind for academic excellence. I want to take this time to just thank our community for the tremendous support that we were given with the support of passing the ad valorem tax a little over a week ago with an overwhelming majority. That speaks volumes for the confidence that the public has in our school system. And for that, we're grateful and forever grateful. I just want to say that I'm so honored to be here with our superintendent, our leaders behind me in the school system, and of course, all victories for our achievement starts in that classroom. And we're thankful for our teachers and our leaders in the schools for what they have done because they work diligently and tirelessly for our children. And most importantly, we thank our children for responding. So with the support of our tax, our children are the winners, and ultimately the community has won. I would like to also say that as a school board, we believe in our superintendent, and we have passed a strategic plan. A little over a year ago, a 5-year strategic plan, focusing on 4 pillars. Student success. We want every single student to achieve at his or her highest level, superlative level. We also have teacher excellence as our second pillar. We want the most qualified, certified teachers and personnel in those classrooms. Stakeholder trust is our third pillar. It's important that we collaborate and communicate with our stakeholders, you, the media, the public, in achieving this goal of excellence. And last but not least, systems and planning. We want to have the proper resources, and we want to make sure we provide our students and our personnel with everything they need to be successful. That's our goal. Student success, teacher excellence, stakeholder trust, and systems and planning. Obviously, our strategic plan is working. We have confidence in it. These results we're going to discuss today will show that we're moving forward in the right direction, moving the needle towards our goal of educational excellence for our children and ultimately our community. We thank God for this opportunity to speak with you today, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce our illustrious and courageous superintendent, Dr. Lisa Herring.
Thank you, Dr. Ragland. So good morning. Dr. Ragland has done an exceptional job establishing the moment for today. We are appreciative of the media's presence, and as superintendent, I am excited to bring you into our second part of our conversation. So the elements that Dr. Ragland has unpacked for us this morning, they're critical because they have been the drivers for our work, not just for the last year and a half, but since as a team, an administrative team, a board and superintendent and principals and central staff and parents, and of course our scholars, we've spent a significant amount of time focusing on what we need to do to help turn around our district as it relates to our core business, which is teaching and learning. Many of you are aware that we are convening to discuss the A through F report card that is released as of today. And here in Birmingham City Schools, we take great pride in being able to take a moment to address our progress. In order to provide some context and history around that, the first year the report cards were released, which reflected work done in 2016 through 2017, was 2 years ago when you received our first grade. And our first grade, as a reminder, was a 66. I take you back to January 2018 when we looked at the 2016-17 report card, and we were over at Lincoln. And in that room, we said we take ownership for our work. We said that we wanted to be transparent. We said at that time, with board members and staff and principals surrounding us, that we realized that we stood in the moment of an opportunity. And in that opportunity, we committed to doing better. Well, the second year arrived and you were able to join us, and we discussed the 2017-18 report card, and it was then that we increased to a 68. And whereas we were proud of that increase, we were still concerned about our ability to execute a high level of work. But during the midst of that 68, we also shared with you that we had eliminated 22 Fs. And what we also committed to was the dedication to enhance our work, to stay focused, and to embrace, as Dr. Ragland has shared, with the support and the champion of our board, the strategic plan. So he's already highlighted those pillars. So then we find ourselves today, here to talk about where are we now in this next iteration of the report card. And we're proud to stand before you to say that Birmingham City Schools continues to make progress. We celebrated at Oxmoor Valley. We took ownership at the Lincoln Center. And this morning at the City Club, we take a moment to say progress continues. Most importantly, what we see is that we are turning Birmingham City Schools around. We are turning around. We are moving diligently and deliberately into making our district better. And knowing that that takes progress, this morning we are proud to announce that we are not an F district, that we are not a D district, but we've now elevated to a 71C. A 71C. And for us, it's important to note that we are wise to acknowledge that a C is indicative of progress, but it is not indicative of the word content. We are not content, but we are proud. We are proud because we look back from the last 2 years from where we were to where we stand now, and we are very intentional around where we see our trajectory leading us. We want to accelerate that progress, but we will always pause. We will always take ownership of where we are and what we're doing, and we will celebrate progress when it is made. Although a C does not stand for content, a C does not represent average, a C does represent improvement, and that's important. From a 66 to a 68 to a 71, keep championing Birmingham City Schools. Keep challenging us to do more. We will not be content with that, but we will celebrate that we are having smaller victories that lead to larger ones. And most importantly, these victories don't fall just on the hands or shoulders of those who are doing the work. Most importantly, our children are winning. Our scholars are winning. Dr. Ragland shared that last week when the city voted to support the continuation of the ad valorem tax. That for us was another C, a vote of confidence. We want to continue to build upon that. And now today we stand with the C of not contentment, but continuation. And we want to be very careful because we recognize that a C means there's still work to do before we are done. However, as I've said earlier, we think it's important to control this narrative that helps everyone understand that this is turnaround work. And over the course of the last 2.5, almost 3 years now, you are watching and you are observing turnaround work in action in Birmingham City Schools. So we do have anticipation and plans and strategies around what's to come in the future. We're excited about seeing that we've moved from a significant number of schools that were once actually F as it relates to the state report card, and there are fewer, and yet there's still work to execute. It takes all of us working together. In this room standing behind me, you see just a small representation of our leadership, but important nonetheless. Generally, we also try to have scholars stand with us. This morning, we recognize the importance of where they need to be, and we will continue to celebrate and champion the work. But we are not done, but we are proud of our progress, and that's what this is. From 66 to 71 is progress. It is not failure. We are not a failing school system. We are committed to making us even better. We want to pause to celebrate that Birmingham City Schools is getting there and that we cannot get there alone, and that there are partners who are not in this room with us to celebrate today, but because of partners, we're making great strides. And most importantly, because our community has indicated that they believe in us and they send their most priceless and precious and valuable asset to us, their children, we are committed to doing our very best to take care of them. Our work is not finished. This is not intended to be a long speech. It is intended to say, Birmingham City Schools is turning around. We are a turnaround district. We are making progress. We've got miles to go before we sleep, but we will not sleep on the fact that we have moved up, and we will continue to move up. At this time, it is our pleasure to take any questions and give as many answers as we can.
You kind of touched in and around it, but what is there anything specific that you point to that brought about this success?
Absolutely, and thank you for using the word success because we see it as such. Over the last several years, you've heard Dr. Ravin in our initial opening mention our strategic plan, Pillar 1, Pillar 2, 3, and 4. But embedded in Pillar 1 and the work that we've been strategic about over the last 2 years has been around our focus on instructional leadership. Instructional leadership also ties to strategies that have us more intentional in terms of when we're in classrooms, classroom observations. We've partnered with resources to help ensure that teachers have what they need. We've transitioned with our own teacher evaluation model that has been onboarding for the last 2 years. In addition, we've put children first. Children first. We've worked to be very intentional around what does it take to understand the nature and needs of our learners. When we campaigned, we also talked about 3 key things that the community highlighted that we also know are critical for student success. The first is pre-K. Starting as early as we can, Birmingham City Schools has close to 50 first-class pre-K classrooms in Birmingham alone, and some of the largest in terms of the total count across the state. We've invested heavily, not just in technology, but in the training around how do you use technology to change how we teach and learn in the classroom and collaborate more with our scholars. You see elements of that, not just in the new evolution of Bush Hill STEAM Academy, but we've expanded that work across the district. And then finally, when you take the school report card and you unpack it across each grade level, there are several variables that are in those formulas. So soon you will see or hear about the failing schools list. To be clear, the failing schools list will capture proficiency in reading and math, but the lowest numbers across the state, and that's it. It is a snapshot. Unfortunately, it's called the failing schools list, but I go back to my earlier statement. We are not a failing district. We are 71C, and the formula for the report card takes into consideration growth. Birmingham City Schools and our scholars and our teachers, we are strong in growth. That is a part of the formula. In addition to that, for our high schools, we look at college and career readiness indicators. Absenteeism is across the board on all of those, and our year-to-year progress. So the formula gives us a broader picture, and I think that it's important to note that embedded in our strategic plan are strategies that are tied to every element of the formula. So we are proud that those are specifics that I can speak to. Most importantly, it's important to add that in our strategic plan, we have metrics, and we have a responsibility to monitor those metrics on a regular basis. We progress monitor that throughout the course of the year regularly. That helps us adjust and amend accordingly for the good of our scholars.
What can you do better to keep progressing and keep moving up?
That's a really great question. So I think there are three things that come to mind. We have to be diligent and consistent. We believe that the plan that we've put in place is a good plan. So it's important that we try not to deviate from that. Number two, we can't do it alone. Partners are critical. We are proud of our teacher workforce. I take great pride in not only our teacher workforce, but our leaders, both school-based and central office. But we have 23,000 students in Birmingham. The more partners that we have, whether they are tutors and they are reading partners, or whether they're helping us ensure that students have a sense of the future, that can help us accelerate. And then finally, I think that the other part that we have to do is continue the progress monitoring tools to be able to know way beforehand where we are so that we can amend and adjust accordingly. Those are key factors.
What can you say about parent involvement in your continued progress?
So parental involvement is critical. There is always space and room for more parental involvement. We are proud, however, of what we have in Birmingham, but there are spaces and places where we certainly could utilize more. Research indicates that when students are able to have their parents not just as their first teacher, but very much involved in homework or in their learning or even at school, we see higher performance results. So we will continue our campaign to expand that.
In this latest report card, were there any schools ranked F? And what would you say to the parents of children who go to those schools?
So I believe our total number of schools ranked F, we're at 5 or 6, Dr. Chapman. We're at 6. And so to that, I would say we are still not a failing district, and those numbers are very close to moving towards a D or a C. And again, when we go back from the last couple of years, we are very cognizant of that. To those parents, I'd say 3 things. Continue to send your scholars, because we are just as laser focused on those schools as we are the others. Number 2, there is a formula that calculates the report card. So there's not one singular indicator. And so please work with us to know what that formula consists of and where we see strategies to improve. And then number 3, send your children. Know that there's a formula. There's not one singular factor, but 3, be involved with us, and we can accelerate it together.
Are there any particular schools that made the most improvement?
There are several. That is an exhaustive list, and we will be glad to make that available for you. But there's more than a few. And so to not try to name them all off the top of mind, we'll get those for you, because there were several that have made significant improvement, and so we're proud to share that as well.
When will that come out?
Today, we can get that for you today. Did I overpromise? We can get that for you today. Yes, it's ready.
A couple more questions.
How does the school district recruit and keep quality teachers around?
So that's the signature question. And so we expand our net in terms of reaching out for teachers. We start locally. Beyond our local extension, we also do national recruiting. We're recruiting right now. Literally, this is recruitment. This moment right here, this is recruitment. Let me explain. We'll take you. We are proud that at the end of the summer, we had an extremely low teacher vacancy number. So that's a strong point for Birmingham when the teacher shortage issue is a reality across the state and quite honestly across the country. But the second part of your question is how do we retain them? So that's tied to several things. It's tied to leadership, culture, and professional development. So we're committed to that. We have opportunities to continue to expand in that. Mentorship is also important, but we recognize that teaching is the magic wand, if you will, where we help make dreams come true for children. It is not an easy task. It is important to state that we couldn't stand here and have this celebration of progress without our teacher workforce. And although we can't have them all in this room at this moment, they are a part of the magic sauce. So we are intentional about making certain that they are rewarded when we can. I don't know if you will recall last year when we had our Teachers of the Year, we took great pride in partnering with Adamson Ford to make sure that our elementary and secondary Teachers of the Year are now driving around the city of Birmingham in their own vehicles. In addition to that, we've celebrated them throughout the year. We want to celebrate that work. It's true. We can't pay them enough, we can't honor them enough, and in Birmingham City Schools, we want to make sure that we're intentional around how we do express our value.
Final question.
Can I ask you about the Birmingham progress and any reports, Birmingham Promise? And, what have you heard on that, and is it?
No, that's fine. We have been working collaboratively with the city. There's a team that has been very strategic in that work. So there has been progress around not just the recruitment of scholars, but also the expectation of what you'll see once we hit the spring semester. Our team is inclusive of schools, of course, students, as well as members of the city. So we've moved forward with that work in terms of partnership. What you should anticipate between now and the spring is the announcement of the scholars who will be participating in the apprenticeship. That's where we focused our energy at this juncture. We're developing that and doing that recruitment, and then soon thereafter next levels. And so I'd invite an opportunity for that to come, but we have been continuing our work and our commitment to making certain we have opportunities available for our scholars.
All right, we thank everybody for being here this morning. That'll wrap it up. This data should be available, my understanding is on the Alabama State Department of Education's website today. That's ALSDE, Alabama State Department of Education.edu. And we thank you all for coming.
Thank you.